It's Hosana. Go ahead. Is that Hosana or is it Xongile? Let me just look. Yeah, I've got him here. Station's located one young leopard cub on the southern side of Gari Main in the Umloamachi drainage. Animal is static. We've got this little Hosana. Hello, boy. What did you give your mother for her birthday yesterday? And there's a squirrel shouting at him. I haven't seen him for 3 weeks. Now the reason I was laughing there was because I slammed on anchors and Craig came scudding forward off his seat and went, "Oh!" Zach, you're wondering about... Oh! There's another leopard just above us. Well, that's very exciting. Phew. There is Xongile. Zach, as we listen to this squirrel shouting at our two favourite characters, there is my favourite leopard right now. You say, are there any animals that call specifically leopard when they're alarm calling? Certainly monkeys do. We know that monkeys have an individual call for leopards. I imagine that there are other species that do, but that we perhaps haven't picked up the sound before, or picked up exactly the differences in the sound. Stations both of Karula's cubs are in this position at the junction of Gari Main with Umloamachi. And I think she's trying to catch the squirrel. Young leopards do like to try and catch squirrels. Craigus, let me go back a little bit. It might be a bit easier. I'll try not to slam the anchors on again so that you hurt yourself. Oh, that's lovely. Both of the cubs are here now. I'm just talking on the radio there. Now, if we move away from the cub in the tree, from Xongile, just for a second, I wonder if Hosana wasn't lying exactly there when we went past here before. Can you see him there, Craig? Just zoom right into the middle of your picture there. Up a bit. There he is. Can you see him? And I wonder if he wasn't lying right there. Okay, quickly, sorry, let's go back to Xongile. She's now performing in a quite remarkable fashion. Oh, what a relief this is to see these wonderful leopards, especially on a day like today. Sorry, Molly, I'm afraid I missed that question. Can we have it again, please, Becca? Oh, Molly, you say, who do I think will take over after Karula? Molly, I don't think that anyone's going to take over necessarily. I think what you'll find is that the territory will be divided. And it will be filled probably by Shadow to the east, so she'll probably come, at least to the west, she'll probably come further east. I'm going to have to move forward, Craig. There's just a bit much going on behind us. And then I think we'll also find that, you know, Tundi would move in from the east, and it would just sort of be filled up, but her territory won't be replaced as such. Now, Maybe let's just look at Hosana here. In fact, sorry, let me get into a position. Let me just reverse back into the drainage, then we can have both of them. And we're the only ones that are allowed to do that because we're the only ones from Djuma over here. Hosana is totally fearless of cars. It's so interesting. He's much less fearful of cars than he is of people on foot. Alright, now we've got them both. There's the one up in the tree. I wonder where Karula is. She could easily be right here. Ah, it's wonderful. Happy Jay, you say, do they have fat bellies? I think Hosana probably does. He's been eating an impala with his father, quite interestingly. But I don't see hugely fat bellies on them at the moment, no. So they could probably eat if they wanted to. That's a lovely picture there, isn't it? So they have been eating, and we know that they've been eating pretty well. But I'm sure they could eat again. Karula's work is never done when it comes to feeding them. And what I've been thinking about of late is the fact that, you know, we talk often about the independence and when they go independent and how they go independent and does Karula chase them off, etc., etc. But I think what I've noticed amongst these two is that the process of independence is not a sudden one. It's not suddenly one day she decides that she's had enough of them. It's much longer than that. It takes much longer than that. And what I think we're seeing here is how it's a very gradual process, where they just start to spend more and more time on their own. Hosana's coming across the road here. Stocky little fellow. Yes, his belly does look full. Now this is exactly where we want him to be. He must come north into Djuma. I wonder how often we've driven past these creatures, and you know, as the grass is so much longer than it has been, can you imagine how often we're driving past these two leopards and of course their mother? You still see them there, Craig? Okay, let's stick with the one in the tree then for now. I'll keep an eye out for Hosana, see if he pops out. She's having a great time. The squirrel is still shouting at her, but he's managed to calm himself down after the initial fright of having a leopard there. Fastidiously, like her mother, remaining clean. But of course the males do that as well, don't they? Well, sometimes, Mike, you say do leopards normally have the same graceful way of landing that house cats do? Well, yes and no. Certainly Xongile, far more so than Hosana, he tends to be fairly inelegant in his dismounts. You see, they're a lot heavier, and so when they land, it does look a lot heavier. They're much more elegant, for example, than lions when they go or descend from trees or anything that they've climbed, but they can sometimes find it a little awkward to go down vertically. I'm not sure if Hosana is still there. Oh, yes, he is. I can just see him. That's wonderful. Apparently there are a lot of people coming here from the south, so I'm not sure how long we're going to be able to be here, but we're going to extend it for as long as we can. Right, well, I'm going to listen to the radio. I think we should be able to stay here for a little bit longer. And we are, of course, going to hopefully show these beautiful leopards to the school. While I do that, I believe Steph has got quite tired and decided that he needs to take a small rest. So let's go and find out how comfortable the earth is behaving as his bed. Xongile is still in a tree, and sounds like Steph found a bit of a crime scene over there. Fascinating stuff. Now you see, this is a great way to experience the bush. I think we've got a really sort of iconic sighting here with leopard in tree, the kind of thing that people pay thousands of dollars on a nightly basis to come and see in the Sabi Sand, take hundreds of pictures. And then at the other end of the scale we have Steph on foot, finding those astounding things that his rather amazing eyes are able to pick up, and then sharing all sorts of insights about the smaller aspects and just as important aspects of this reserve's ecology. And I think that's a wonderful way to experience nature out here. As we always say, it's not all about the big stuff. Not that you could describe that elegant cat as big stuff. She's much too elegant. That no one ever described my favourite leopard at the moment. Of course, my favourite leopard will change, I've no doubt. That's okay. Do you have to have the same favourite leopard? I don't think you have to. But for now, she's my favourite. Craig, do you have a favourite leopard? You don't have one, says Craig. Rebecca says it's like having a favourite child, which is palpable nonsense. Thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca's just back from leave, of course, so she hasn't quite regained her sanity. And you can, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you can perhaps notice how quiet the morning is on account of the weather. Yoli, you've been looking at the back end of Xongile, and so you reckon that she's got a longer tail than the average leopard. Yoli, I don't think so, no. I think maybe it looks like that because she's much less stocky than Hosana, but I don't think that her tail is any longer than anyone else's, I'm afraid. I think her tail is a standard issue, sort of leopard length. Although, Yoli, now, you see, I haven't really noticed this before, but you say that. And I'm just wondering if perhaps you aren't right. Now, we were asked about of course, the elegance with which a cat is able to get out of a tree. Now, you're watching here, and certainly our lady members of the guiding team, specifically Jamie, has spoken at length about the inelegance of Hosana in his descent, and I've detected a note of sort of, well, if not feminism, certainly an element of, what should we say, female bias in her assessments. There she comes, and I think, well, it wasn't too bad. It was actually, I'm going to have to agree with Jamie, I think that was more elegant than her brother's capable of. She'll just have a little clean now, because that's what leopards do. And what she must do, of course, is come north towards her brother. That will make us all very happy indeed. I mean, that is a wonderful picture. Yes, come on, come this way. Oh, it's so nice to spend a bit of time with him again. I wonder where her mum is. Their mum's probably gone off hunting. Johan had her last in the far eastern boundary, as I said yesterday. There she is, now going to settle gently. Cheryl, you're wondering about the hunting and whether they have an easier time. Oh, look, just to the left. Right, sorry, that's the right-hand side, isn't it? You say, do leopards have an easier time hunting in the longer grass? Yes, they do, especially in the day. You know, the grass gives them such an excellent place to hide. There is a disadvantage to it as well, though, Cheryl, and that disadvantage is the fact that they find it difficult to see over the top of the grass. Now, that might seem almost trivial, but it isn't. It's not easy to see over the tops of the grass when it's this long, and that means that they have to keep popping their heads up. Sometimes they can't do that. They actually have to stand up on their back legs. They will leap up and look. And I think it's most nicely illustrated if you go to Cheetah Plains and you watch the cheetah walking through the plains there. It's quite difficult for them to see what's going on. And it's the same for the leopards. But that said, I still think that it's an easier time for them to hunt than it would be otherwise. So it's why leopards and lions will give birth predominantly in the summer months. Not always, they can give birth in the winter. In fact, most of our last group of cubs were birthed during the winter time. But for the stalking predators, the thicker the bushes, the easier it is. This is just great stuff. And I'm going to keep an eye on her brother, because her brother is now stalking her. Let's have a look this side, Craig. He's coming this way. Either that or he's gone to sleep, but he looks to me like he's about to stalk her. I can't believe no one else has come to the sighting. It's just too wonderful to have both of these leopards all to ourselves. Of course, we've yet to see their mother, who turned 13 years old yesterday. Bless her. No, he's gone, so let's go back to the other leopard. I'll keep an eye on the male. If he decides to do anything, we'll move. Everything very calm. I think it certainly tells me that they have had a fairly substantial amount of food over the last few days. She looks very content. She's a special cat, this one. Now her brother is flat in the grass. I'm 99% sure that we drove straight past both of them when we came past here earlier this morning. Ian, you're 10 years old and you're in Canada and you're asking a very good question to which I'm not sure there's a very good answer. And so I hope that you will be satisfied with what I'm going to say to you. You say, why do leopards have rosettes and cheetahs have spots? Why is one helpful in one context and not the other? I think what you'll find is that it's quite a complicated answer, Ian, and I don't know how much about things like evolution you know, or you know, the advantages of adaptation. But it's basically the same or similar solution to the same problem. So the problem that these cats have, of course, is the need to stay hidden all the time. And so what you need to do if you want to stay hidden, in the case of these cats, is to try and, well, the spots help them to stay hidden when they're hunting. Now, it just happens, here the male's up, it just happens, Ian, that there are two different ways you can do that. You can do that with spots, or you can do it with rosettes. And these cats developed at different times. And what happened is that they've now developed the same strategy, or a different strategy, for the same problem. So I don't think that there's any real advantage to having rosettes versus spots. I just think that that's how nature has made them, and it's given them two different solutions to the same problem of being hidden. See, now he's going to stalk his sister. She's looking for him. Look at that. I don't think she can see him. Oh, that's a wonderful picture of her there. Let's just keep an eye there. I think they probably will leap onto each other fairly soon. Well, let's move around. Let's move around there to the fire break. We'll just wait for this other vehicle to go past. Hello, Monique. Would you like to say hello to her yourself?
No, I'm not watching now. I'm live.
Yes, I know you are. But would you like to say hello to her?
No, can I say hello to her mother?
Yeah, please, would you put the camera on this fellow?
Okay. Monique, Judith, we're having a great time. I hope you're watching Safari Live. We are live. We are live.
Sorry, Rebecca, go again with that. How cool is that? Okay, we're going to be joined by a school very shortly. And so, well, I think we're going to play on what we call the ident, and then you'll be back with me. Everybody at the Christian Lion School in Hong Kong, of all places. You're on your very first live safari here from the northeast corner of South Africa, and you are the luckiest people in the world, really. Well, certainly in Hong Kong. There we have a gorgeous leopard, and we don't see that every day. My name is James, and for the next 45 minutes, me and Steph, yes, that is English, isn't it? Yes. No, Steph and I will be your hosts, and we're going to be hopefully spending a good half hour with these leopards. Craig is on camera here at the moment, and any questions you have would be glad to answer, and we look forward to answering any queries or questions that you might have. We're going to carry on moving just round the corner here and get another look. That is a young male leopard. He was born in February 2016, so he's a year and 1 month old. His sister is just across the road. Ooh, this is wonderful stuff. And their mother is now 13. She had her birthday yesterday. They're the two cubs on the road in front of us. We'll just wait here. There are, of course, other safari vehicles in the area. And what I'm going to do, Craig, sorry, I'm going to move quite quickly. We're going to go around on this road here and get a nice view. So any questions you have, kids, please feel free to answer them. Well, you're not really kids anymore, are you? Sort of 12 to 13 years. And it's great to have you here all the way from Hong Kong. Valerie, you say, are these animals tame? Valerie, they are not tame at all. They are just used to us, which means that they are happy to go about their lives while we are near them, but they're not tame. You couldn't get out of the car and touch them. You sometimes can get close to them on foot, but you don't want to touch them. They are completely wild animals. And it's just through the, many years of spending time with animals out here that they've become used to our presence in vehicles, but they are in no way tame. We'll hopefully pick them up coming around here. Right, while we do this, Steph is out on foot looking for some of the smaller things that you find in the bush. Now, by moving south, Steph means that they are going onto the reserve just next door to ours, so we can't go where they are going. I'm just going to move slightly so we can get a better view of them. Oh, they're playing now. I managed to get you right behind a tree there. That was brilliant on my part. There we go. Well, leopards eat meat of it if they're little. I think he's just seen his mother. You can't really see us at the moment. How's that, Craig? Sorry about that, everybody. Manhay, they eat meat. We have 9 species of antelope here, and they will take the small to medium-sized ones. So something called steenbok and duiker and impala would make up the bulk of their diet. But leopards have what we call a very Catholic diet, which means that they're able to eat just about anything. They will eat anything from lizards to fish to frogs to termites sometimes, and of course all the way up to things the size of wildebeest, which are very large antelope indeed. And Ray, you're wondering how big they get. Ray, they get to roughly, a big male will get to about 85 kilograms, sometimes up to 90 if he's massive. Female, sort of 45 kilograms is a relatively large one. We think that their mother weighs between 35 and 40 kilograms or so. So they're not enormous. But a big male, a big male about the size of a fairly large human male. And the female's a little bit smaller, mass-wise, than a female human being. And their height, I suppose, at the shoulder for a male would be roughly, say, 3 feet or so at the shoulder, about 1 meter. I keep forgetting you're in Hong Kong, so you're going to use, of course, the metric system, because unlike some parts of the world, you are not using the imperial system anymore. All right, now this is a really good question from Ollie. Ollie, while we look at that leopard, you're saying, how do you tell the difference between a leopard, a jaguar, and a cheetah? Well, a leopard and a jaguar have very similar shaped spots or rosettes. And this, if you look at a jaguar's rosettes, or arrangements of spots. So we call them rosettes because the spots are formed in a circle around a sort of discoloured or copper-coloured centre. And if you were to look at a jaguar, you'd find that that rosette is much larger, and the actual animal itself is much larger. Well, not much larger, but they're probably about 10% bigger than leopards. And they occur, of course, only in South America. So if you were to find something that looked like a leopard in South America, you would know immediately that it was a jaguar. Then a cheetah is a very different build. So jaguars and leopards build very stockily. They are very powerful. They're quite short and they're very muscular. A cheetah much less so. A cheetah is taller, much more slightly built, and they have got spots on them, not those rosette shapes. So you can see the spots on the front of his chest there. That's what a cheetah's got, but all throughout the body. They don't have that rosette arrangement of spots. And they've all got a much smaller head, much less in the way of muscle definition, because they are totally over-specialized for speed, which means they cannot, like the leopard, make do with just about anything to eat. They do not have the Catholic diet of the leopards. They must eat pretty much only small to medium-sized antelopes, and they catch them, of course, by chasing them at great speed. Let me just move out the way here for this chap to go past. Sorry about that. So let me just move a little bit forward here. So I hope that answers the question. The snow leopard would be so we also, sorry about that everyone, but of course, like I was saying, those are not the only 3 spotted cats you get. Snow leopards and clouded leopards would be 2 others, but the snow leopard is relatively closely related to these chaps, and of course lives up in the Himalaya and various other, well, mountain fastnesses in Eurasia. Highly endangered. Then we had a question about where they live, what climate they live in, and that's from Matthew. And Matthew, the climate leopards live in goes all the way from the Mediterranean climate of the southern Cape of South Africa, where they have a winter rainfall and summer more heat, temperatures up to sort of 38 degrees sometimes in the height of the summertime. And then they'll go all the way up to here, where we have very hot and relatively wet summers. Sort of gets to about 42 degrees here every so often. But then they extend all the way up through Africa, through the central rainforest regions, into the deserts of Arabia. They used to extend all the way into Europe as well. Obviously, they've been excluded from that part of the world now. Then they extend all the way across Asia, down into India, and eventually across to the Amur region of Russia, in the far east of Russia, where it's obviously freezing cold in the wintertime. Now, that's the same species of leopard all the way, different subspecies, so a slight variation, but they could absolutely interbreed with each other. And so they extend all the way from the blinding heat of the Arabian desert, where they're much smaller than they are here. The males probably only weigh 30 to 35 kilograms, like the females here, all the way across to the freezing coldnesses of the far east of Russia. Now, you're wondering, Gordon, where we are here. We're sitting in the northeastern corner of South Africa. I don't think I told you that at the beginning, did I? Northeast corner of South Africa, which of course is the southern tip of the African continent, and we're in a place called the Kruger National Park, and that of course is one of the most famous national parks in all the world. Here we have the little female. Xongile is her name, which means the beautiful one. Startlingly original name, that. And she is heading off into the bushes to try and stay hidden. And I wonder, you know, we drove past this area earlier this morning and we failed to see them. So I think you could see how easy it would be for her to hide. And Sean, while the spots of that gorgeous animal just disappear there in amongst the heads of the guests, let's go back to the young male. Sean, you say, how long do they live for? A little bit like our own species, males live for not quite as long as females. The males live probably till they're about 14 years old as the oldest male on record in this area, and the females can live up to about 18 years. I think potentially in captivity they would live to 20 or so, but very few animals out here die of old age. Once it becomes difficult to hunt and difficult to eat, well, then of course the animals are going to eventually drop dead from starvation, or they will be attacked by other predators. And that's the sad, well, not sad thing, but it is an inevitable fact of life out here, that once you get old and you become infirm or unable to move around too much, something is going to get you. Now I can hear way off to the distance, I can hear some squirrels going, and that normally means that they've spotted something that might be wanting to eat them, and I suspect quite strongly that the mother of these two cubs is coming towards them. Ray, you're wondering how many types of leopards there are in this area. There's only one type, and that is the African leopard. That's this one here, and that's, I mean, there's actually only really one type of leopard the world over. Yes, there are different variations, different subspecies. We only have one subspecies here, and that's the African leopard out here. I wonder if it wouldn't be worth our while just popping down the road there to see if we can't see if the mother isn't coming this way. Let's have a look-see.